Pay attention, Tom. All right.
Good afternoon, everybody. We're going to try to get started. Today, I'm going to be the de facto chairman today. All right, can we have a call to order? And yeah, where are we at? Roll call. Roll call, I'm sorry.
Board Member Makeumson. Here. Board Member Lewis.
Here.
Board Member Campenny.
Here.
Board Member Wolfen.
Here.
Chair Waka.
Okay, can we stand down for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
To the flag, United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So that's right. I just missed it.
Good afternoon, everybody. Okay, we're here for, what's the date today? December 1st, CRB board meeting. All right, we're first going to have, first thing on the agenda, can I have well, I guess we have approval of the minutes.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so approved. Next thing we have is the approval on the agenda. Today, the agenda items are three things. We have the Lucido Cottage homes, the resolution for the budget amendment, and Easter crosswalks, and the public art D&D. Do I have an approval for the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, before we get started, is there any general comments from the public unrelated to any of the agenda items today? Seeing none, we're going to move forward. Okay. Any comments from the board members? Seeing no comments from the board members. I hope everybody's doing well. Everybody had a good Thanksgiving and everybody's happy and healthy. All right, moving forward, we're going to get to the CRB. First things first, I believe it's the R127 2020 Lucido Cottage Home, MUCCA. Is your presentation?
Thank you, Chair.
No problem.
Good afternoon, Board. Tom Reitz, Senior Planner for the record. This is an application by Mr. Lucido for a major urban code conditional use approval. It's for his cottage home. So the site's located on the southwest corner of George Avenue and Osceola Street. The current zoning is urban general, which will support the cottage home. Land use is downtown redevelopment. This is the existing site, undeveloped. It's been undeveloped. I'm not sure if there was a home there at one time. There may have. I didn't go back that far. In which case, if there was a home at one time, Tom would be entitled to monies that he would normally have to pay for impact fees. Thanks. So you can see that the southwest corner would need to be split. It would need to have 3,200 square feet to support the approximately 2,000 square foot home. It is 2 floors. Right now, you can see that there's basically two lots. There's one half north and the one half south. One half south has an existing building. It's currently a hair salon that will remain. And Tom will talk, when he gives his presentation, talk about his future plans for the remainder of the lot. Currently, there's an existing asphalt parking lot that supports the hair salon. So this is in a large detail of the site plan. Today, there will be 2 variance requests, one for a rear setback of 5 feet, where normally 15 feet is required. And then also to allow for one of the 2 required parking spaces to be in the front or in front of the front facade. The other parking spaces inside of the garage. So as I mentioned earlier, the 2 setbacks are the rear setback is proposed at 5 feet, where normally 15 feet is required. Originally, I thought that Tom needed a overhang setback relief, but in fact, it's 3 feet. What the code allows 3 feet into the side setback, and that's exactly what it is. And then the final variance would be, as I mentioned earlier, parking in the front. Architectural elevations, the architect is here today, Gary Kelly. He may or may not speak about these. It's an old Florida design, eclectic design, and I'll let Tom and Gary talk about that. So there's conditions that we're asking for. We need a legal description for the new split, the 3,200 square foot split. We need a unity title for the remainder of the property, the remainder parking lot to unite with the existing hair salon. And then the CO by December 31st of 2023. With that, staff recommends approval and moving forward to the City Commission. And that ends staff's presentation.
Thank you. Is Mr. Lucido here? Would he like to speak?
No.
Nope.
Thank you. I'll be brief. It's a piece, the property I've owned since 1990. My office was there for many years. I'm a landscape architect, designer. We outgrew the office several years ago. And in the interim, there was another interior designer there, and now there's a hair salon in the existing building. Yeah, if you can. So the address, I've always looked at it as basically one piece of property. Can you go to the beginning there, Tom? I think we're at the end there.
You build all of that?
There you go. So let's go to the next slide, Vanna. So as Tom said, that's the property. The existing building is the office or the hair salon now with a parking lot. And there are 2 lots there. So I'm taking a portion of the second lot. It's vacant. I don't think there's ever been a building there. I think it's always been vacant. But with the advent of people wanting to be downtown, there seems to be a strong market for that. Instead of putting another office building up, I decided to potentially build this new building and then see how that goes, quite frankly, and then maybe continue to subdivide the property. Why don't you go to the next slide there, Tom? I think there could potentially be 5 homes there. I wanted to build a small compound of residential homes, very small cottages or bungalows. That kind of is reminiscent of California, Akron, the old Potsdam area. That's where I got my inspiration to do this. If you go to the next slide. These were some of the homes that I showed Mr. Kelly. Gary Kelly's the architect that I was kind of interested in and intrigued with. They're smaller, 1,600, 1,500 to 2,000 square foot homes. Some are a little larger. You go to the next one. These were just some homes that I looked at. All of them have, front porch, dormers. Some have second floor, some do not. The only thing I really was trying to gain here was a master bedroom on the first floor because of some of the older people who are interested in moving downtown. I do have a second floor with the potential for 2 bedrooms and an office or 3 bedrooms, and I'll show you that in a minute. That's the lot. I try to throw a little green on the plan so you can see where the green space is. The master bedroom is on the first floor. The problem or the issue with these lots are they're small. I've given up a 5-foot sidewalk easement on the front. And then there's a FPL easement on the back. So these lots are only 70 feet deep. They're not 125 or 150 foot lots. They're very, it's not a deep lot. It's an old commercial lot. And so I had to get creative with the architect to try to put the home site on there. The next home may not have a master on the first floor, so it might even get smaller. These were 2 options Gary Kelly created for the second floor. One has 3 bedrooms, the other has 2 bedrooms and an office. I think the total square footage of the building under air is under 2,000 square feet. various elevations. The right elevation is what you'd see from Osceola. And the front elevation is what you see from Georgia. You wouldn't see the rear elevation or the left elevation once, the rear elevation, obviously, there'll probably be a fence along the property line. And then the left elevation, there'll be another home adjacent to it eventually in landscape. So that's the go back. That's the front elevation by itself. I just wanted to put it by itself so you can see it from Georgia Avenue. On the left is the garage, and that's the elevation from Osceola. And there's probably going to be a picket fence in front of that. I see it as one of these compounds with a white picket fence and landscape, obviously. Okay, Tom, what else do we have there? That's it.
Okay.
Glad to answer any questions. I've got Scott Montgomery with Montgomery Engineers helping me with water quality, stormwater drainage, the requirements that the city has. We're going to meet those code requirements. And Gary Kelly's here if you have any questions about architecture or the plan.
Thank you, Mr. Lucido. In order for discussion, we have to have a motion.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay. So now that the motion's
I'm not going to second, because I want Katie to say something.
I have a question, so I guess.
to discuss, we were trying
The
to.
motion just to
So do I need to
discuss.
say
So
second?
second it, we can go to discussion.
Yeah.
Second.
Okay, we can move to discussion. Before we move to discussion with the board members, is there any comments from the public on this matter? Seeing none, moving to comments from the board.
Want to go first, Pete?
Katie, do you have a question?
I just have a question. Are we voting today? I think this is probably for you, for just this one property?
That's right.
And then, but the future is to plan across. So
Yes.
what we say today,
Today is just for
Is-
the one split 3,200 square foot lot on the,
but we have to stay,
Come back for those 5 lots, he'd have to come before the board again.
okay, but do we have to stay consistent through all 5 of those?
Right now, the only thing that would be approved is one single-family home and then a unity of title to maintain that he must keep the office and parking lot. He's not allowed to do anything else.
Just the
So
one
if we're
home.
to come back later, you can decide whether you want it to be consistent or
Okay.
not. Boards have a tendency to change their mind.
Yeah, and board member, real quick, before we get started, yes, there's 2 variances we're looking at today. I believe we had 3 in our agenda. Looks like we're just doing 1 in the,
1 and 3.
1 and 3. And what we're asked to do is a motion to approve.
Okay. I guess the only question I had is, do you have any future plans on this one, Tom? Do you plan not to have that office building on East Ocean?
You know, Peter, it really decide, I'm
You
really
don't know
kind of,
yet.
pardon?
You don't know yet.
I don't.
Okay.
And I'm kind of testing the market, to be frank.
Okay.
And I might move into that house depending on what happens and leave
With
the
whose
office.
wife?
Yeah,
Or which way?
yeah.
But I'm assuming that if we get to that down the road, we'll be talking about parking or not parking, or because the parking lot will eventually just disappear, right?
Yes, if I continue, I mean, here's the thought, and whether this board would agree with it or not, but the thought was lot 1 there is what we're developing today if you approve it.
Yeah.
Lot 5 is vacant. It's on East Ocean. So it's a bigger lot. So let's say lot 1 sells and people are excited and, you know, it makes a little money. So then I would probably consider lot 5 and leave the commercial building there because it's not an intense use, you know? And then if that was successful, then I would probably move the building or eliminate the commercial building and continue construction.
Yeah. 'cause
I mean,
eventually
that's the
that-
concept.
Yeah, when we get down the road to that, we'll have to start looking at parking then.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, but the parking lot and the building wouldn't be needed because they'd be all single-family homes and I'd have to park those homes.
Thank you.
Tom?
Come on back up.
So your concept is to sell these as individual homes. You're not gonna keep them and rent them out.
No, sir.
Okay, so when you do, if you do develop further, you're gonna have to have an association, are you not? Because you're saying.
I don't know the answer to that.
Around it, and so forth?
I didn't think I would, to be honest, because each lot would be self-sufficient.
Okay, so you wouldn't, you're not gonna go again and ask to form a homeowners association or anything?
I don't think so, Tom, for 5 home sites.
Okay, I mean, I'm
Yeah,
just
that's-
asking because you had said you thought you were going to encircle the compound.
Well, I'm just thinking I would continue that look because I want it to feel like one compound or one street. And I don't want each home to be identical though and the same, like a condominium or something. So they are fee simple individual homes.
Okay, and now this is for Tom Reeds. This is being built in accordance with our downtown code, correct?
Everything else complies with the urban code, yes.
The urban code.
Yes.
So actually, it doesn't need to park itself. Because isn't that true?
No, downtown.
No,
the
just
whole parking
downtown.
exempt area is literally the very center of downtown. Anything outside of the parking exempt, which ends on Colorado and ends here at City Hall,
Mhm.
still has to comply with parking, but this does, the 2 spaces is on.
Okay, but Mike, again, but if you, this is just for my information.
Right.
But if you build a house on Camden, those houses don't necessarily have parking, do they?
Their driveways have.
Ah, right, okay. Okay,
I
okay.
have a concept. If you're old like I am, make the middle of the house a nursing home.
Not that old, Pete.
Have you got any pushback from the neighbors or anything or surrounding business owners or anything?
No, and
The
That's-
direct neighbor is Wells Fargo, which is the city.
Oh, well, yeah.
yeah,
okay.
right.
Yeah.
And it's predominantly commercial at this time. So, that's why I'm kind of testing the market.
Okay.
Okay, have you thought about selling your property to the city?
I have not. The
Just
city has
throwing
an
it out there while I see the city manager, the city attorney, and you sitting there.
I was looking more for a gift,
Is there any additional questions from the board members?
And what do you, and again, this is not going to influence how I vote, but what do you see your that house being sold for?
I was talking with another builder over by Shepherd's Park, and they're going for 5 to 6.
Really?
Yeah.
Hmm.
And people are actually customizing those, adding elevators. That's why I wanted a master on the first floor. They don't have master bedrooms on the first floor. So, I don't know if you can get that, quite frankly, but that's what those were going for.
Mhm.
And construction prices are much higher right now too. So that's part of the problem.
Do I remember somehow with those ones on Shepherd Park that they were originally presented going to be around 250 or 3?
so
No.
It's always presented at 5 or
Yeah.
6?
Those,
I actually heard 7.
and those are sold to, whether there's 6 of them, Gary?
8.
I know 4 of the owners. They're all my age. Kids are gone. Want to be closer to downtown. It's funny, but that's what's happening.
Is there any further questions from the boards before we move on to voting? All right, I believe there's a motion on table and seconded regarding the 2 variances to pass, go through, is that right? All those in favor?
Right, it's gotta be a roll call, and we need to ask for public comment.
Oh, okay, I thought we did public comment. Is there any public comment as of yet? Seeing none, we need to do a roll call for approval.
Board Member Makeimson,
Yes.
Board Member Lewis,
Yes.
Board Member Campenny,
Yes.
Board Member Wilson.
Yes.
Okay, so approved.
Sheesh. Hey, Tom. Right. I know that you landscaped well.
Next item on the
No
agenda.
questions on that one.
It looks like, no problem. Looks like we have resolution number 01-2021 CRA budget amendment. 01-2021 East Stuart Crosswalks. Is there a presentation?
Move approval?
Second.
Thank you, Panal Gandhi Sawdust, CRA Administrator for the record. This item is a budget amendment to appropriate $75,000 of TIF funds for high visibility crosswalks in the East Stuart neighborhood. Public Works is in a process of repairing and resurfacing streets within this neighborhood as part of their annual pavement maintenance program. The resurfacing work has already begun in this zone and also in this neighborhood, and they expect the project to be completed in February of 2021. The resurfacing work will remove the existing traditional crosswalks that's existing in the neighborhood. So CRA evaluated and identified 38 crosswalks in the neighborhood that will need to be replaced as part of the resurfacing project. Here are the locations of the sidewalk, of the crosswalks. There are 11 crosswalks near the Spectrum High School, 4 crosswalks near Gertrude Daycare Center, and then 23 crosswalks throughout the neighborhood. The proposed crosswalks will enhance the neighborhood. It will provide pedestrian safety, high visibility, and make the drivers aware of pedestrian activity within this neighborhood. Some of the facts for high visibility crosswalks are they do improve pedestrian safety, increase visibility of crosswalks, lets drivers know that there are people in the neighborhood, that there is pedestrian activity, avoids the drivers from stopping into the crosswalk because of these colorful patterns, reduce pedestrian vehicular crashes, improves the appearance of the neighborhood, and provides safe and fun crossings for students for the school routes. Some of the facts that I found were, according to the Florida Highway Administration, high visibility crosswalks can reduce pedestrian crashes by 23 to 48%. FDOT also recommends high visibility crosswalks within 1 mile of all schools. They're more cost effective compared to putting raised medians or other safety measures. Minimal cost for maintaining crosswalks versus the striped crosswalks versus brick pavers. And again, they're more visible compared to brick pavers. The 24 inches longitudinal, the lines will be placed so that the wheels don't go over the white stripes. So that helps reduce the cracking and visibility of crosswalks. And then drivers who are traveling 30 miles per hour have additional 8 seconds of awareness of pedestrian crossing the crosswalk. And they're just Safe Routes to School also recommends these type of crosswalks near school zones. So staff looked at the surrounding buildings to identify color scheme for crosswalks so that there's a better connection to the building and crosswalks. So we looked at the Spectrum High School and we identified a few colors that we thought would be appropriate for crosswalks. Also looked at the Gertrude Daycare Center and identified some colors that would work around that daycare center. Staff is proposing 5 different patterns near the high school. The first one being the geometric pattern, the second one being wavy pattern, lines or stripes. This is the lines crosswalks. And then this is the triangular crosswalks at mid-block near the school. And then we also looked at some fun way to provide crosswalks for Gertrude Center. And we thought that the bubbles would be a fun way for children to, get excited about crossing the street. It can be fun activity. They can do guess how many bubbles there are in the crosswalks. It could become a little bit of an activity for the daycare center. And then we're proposing Harrington bone pattern for the other crosswalks because there are existing brick paver crosswalks in the neighborhood that will remain. So we want to keep the consistent look. So we're proposing Harrington bone pattern with 24 inches wide stripes in between the pattern. In this picture, it doesn't show as bright, but the Harrington bone pattern will have it will be terracotta, so it'll be more brightened with the gray border around on each side. The estimated cost to install these 38 high visibility crosswalks is about $68,000. I wanted to take contingency in consideration. So staff is requesting a budget amendment to allocate $75,000 for this project. And staff is requesting a recommendation to approve a resolution number 01-2021.
Thank you. All right, we already had a motion and a second for discussion. Is there any comments from the public on this matter? Seeing none, we're gonna go to,
Nope, no.
oh, did we? Is there one? I'm sorry.
I didn't know I was going to do this, so I didn't fill one out. I'm Nancy Turrell, City of Stuart resident. You'll notice in my presentation, which is coming up as part of Tom's, one of the public art examples I point out are the use of public art as a competition for sidewalk crossings. So this is considered to be a component of public art and could be expanded further. It's part of wayfinding, designating a specific district. You think about like the Creek District also. You know, if we agreed on a pattern and had an artist competition, you could do sidewalk patterns and then people would know where they were in the city based on the pattern of the crosswalk. So you'll see this again in my presentation. That's all I wanted to say.
Okay, thank you. I believe the recommended action is to approve to the CRA board. So I believe the CRA is going to have the final approval on this. And with that being said, if we were to vote on this today and approve this today, does that mean that there could be no art for the side, for the sidewalk patterns and everything like that? Do we, in order for, because my understanding is she is offering a competitive alternative to what you just proposed. So do we need to table this and listen to the next thing first and then make a decision on everything, or is this going to be separate?
I think this is separate. This is coming out of TIF CRA budget.
Okay, so by approving this, are we telling her no? That's what I'm trying to get at.
No,
Okay.
no, it's fine. This
Okay,
is
that's
completely
what I
different.
want to get at. All right,
I
so,
don't think it's linked together.
okay, just making sure.
Okay,
All right.
the paint is not going to, paint's going to hold up as opposed to our regular black and white stuff with all those light colors.
Yeah, correct.
I know.
This is the same material that we used for the green bike lanes.
Oh.
And we also use this
Great.
material when we did the crossings near the Sailor's Return, which will have to be redone because of the bridge repair.
Any further comments?
No.
All right, there's motion and second on the table.
I just have a comment.
Okay.
I want to know why it's not consistent with what we were doing in downtown Stuart of having the brick paveways.
It's neighborhood.
Is that what they want?
This is like a neighborhood identification. It's very
Okay.
unique to each neighborhood. We did send the PowerPoint presentation to Daycare Center, Spectrum High School, and some other organization in the East Stewart neighborhood. We didn't hear anything negative, so I think they like it.
Okay, it doesn't seem consistent with what we're doing all through downtown
Right.
Stuart.
Yeah, this is a individual.
I know we added the
Neighborhood.
ones, the blue wave ones.
Right, the blue
here,
wave. So it is a
which-
different section of Stewart, and part of our city strategic plan is neighborhood identification, and that part of that is through independent crosswalks. And I like what Nancy was talking about making the competition as we look into future identifications of particular areas. But it's not going to be consistent throughout the Stewart. It's going to be consistent throughout the individual neighborhoods.
So moving forward in other neighborhoods, we're gonna see more of these painted sidewalks than the bricks? Are we moving in?
If you zoom in on this lower picture.
Yeah,
it's not the
it looks
paper
like it.
look.
Right. Yeah, we are moving away from the
And
bricks.
maintenance and the cost of it would be literally 10 times as much.
Yeah.
The bricks sink. They're not,
Yeah.
not very
No,
good.
I understand that.
Yeah, we will be looking at different patterns when we do improvements to other neighborhoods. So you will see more high visibility crosswalks in other neighborhoods.
That's fine.
Any further questions? from the board members? Any further questions from the public? Seeing none, there's a motion basically ready to be voted on. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
You need a roll call?
I don't think.
He wants a roll
It
call.
is money, so we probably should have a roll call.
Okay, let's do a roll call then.
Board Member Lewis,
Yes.
Board Member Campenny,
Yes.
Board Member Wilson,
Yes.
Board Member Makeimson.
Yes.
All right, motion approved. All right, the next matter up is the public art D&D. And so the board's aware, I believe we're being asked to discuss this afterwards.
Okay, I apologize for taking. Good afternoon, CRB Chair Tom Reese again for the record. This is, we're bringing this back to you from October. We originally started with a public art discussion and deliberation. We had short discussion that talked about replacing a very very short part of the code related to public lobby and a plan for the public lobby floor plan. And we're proposing today, upon your suggestion at October's meeting, to replace with "and be visible from the public right-of-way." So this would come under the form of a text amendment that we would have to bring to first to the LPA and then finally to the City Commission. So this is our only recommendation based on your suggestion in October's meeting. Nancy Turrell is here today to give a presentation that she's done in the past, and she's also updated it with some research on other jurisdictions of similar size. So I'll turn it over to Nancy at this point.
We'll wait for the tech to catch up, right?
No problem.
Just for my presentation, did you all receive a copy of this already too? So I'm not, we're gonna zip through things because I assume that you've
Yeah,
looked
got it.
at it already, so.
Aren't computers supposed to make things faster?
It's the transferring to Zoom that takes a little time.
I got it. Oh. So I guess we're still public on the Zoom then.
Yes.
It's going out over Zoom. We're not part of.
Right.
We have to be here.
We don't think that's ever going. by the way, it's not bad because I can tell you that the clerk's office has been uploading the Zoom meetings to a YouTube channel of the cities. So Zoom or YouTube adds the closed captioning, and when we used to not produce the CRB and the LPA and the Board of Adjustments on our website to review the meetings, all of these meetings are now available to the public on the YouTube channel.
I think it's great.
That is great. Off the topic.
So
Go ahead.
that's okay.
No, go.
I think we're set. The first couple of slides, scrolling down, just sort of talk about philosophically why public art matters. And I'm not speaking in the microphone. Why public art matters. Clearly, you can see in these notes that there's a strong and vibrant, that they help identify Stuart as a strong and vibrant arts and cultural community. There's a positive impact on the economy as well. When you get down to the slide that says what is unsuccessful public art, I think that's really easy for most of us to identify. So you can keep scrolling. Keep one more. And I offered up an example here of, I know some of our past discussions about what has worked and what hasn't worked with these private development efforts, and the example of what's in front of the Hampton Inn as a fence versus what's in front of the Dunn Building, and why one works better than the other, as an example of how important scale is in making public art successful. It really, I think, is one of the key criterias. The next few slides, and Tom, you can kind of roll through these pretty quickly. Just some examples of what we already have and how we got to them. The temporary public art we did, we'll have a new one coming in later this month around the gazebo. The turtles, which were a community engagement process and fundraising effort for a lot of local communities or organizations. The city is the mural projects, which only 2 are left from, but there's more murals since then, but that was the first project. And then the next few slides are some examples of scale from all over. You've got automotive scale, that's both automotive and walking. These are some of my favorites, that walking scale that people can engage as they're walking through your town. They also are a factor in wayfinding. These are also wayfinding, walking, and fun. Dance steps in the sidewalk. This is the slide when I was struck by Panal's presentation about the pedestrian crosswalks. The photo on the far right, I actually took when I was in some small town in Southern California, and they had bicycle kinetic art at each intersection too, which was really fun. But I think they can really signify where you are in a community. So I love the idea of using these in the neighborhoods across Stuart. Public art can be functional, can be a water fountain or a seat. You can engage it, it can make music. So there's all kinds of examples. If you keep going through, there's environmental art using water retention ponds. There's environmental education that can be done. And it can be integrated with architectural components of a structure. So floors and railings. I mean, the airport floor in Miami is one of the most amazing terrazzo floors ever. And then it doesn't always have to be big either. And I look at the picture on the right and I think, the caps on the little river walk on the dock, there could be little public art elements that you find along the way. So it can be small as well as big, and it can be functional. Bicycle racks and street poles can be made artistic with very little additional investment along the way. And sound walls are another place, in chain link fencing. So one of the things I did after the last meeting here in October was pull some examples of other communities and what they're including in their ordinances and guidelines and codes about public art. that I thought maybe would help further define what you all do want versus what you don't want, because sometimes saying what you don't want is as important, maybe more so than what you do want. These guidelines from Key West, I liked their very specific detailed list of elements. They clearly are defining what is required by the applicant, which also gives the reviewers a much better foundation for the positive or negative review of that. And they include a contract for maintenance, which I think is really important. In the next slide, we move into City of Coral Gables. This to me takes what Key West did to the next level and really goes into a great description on what isn't allowed in Coral Gables. That may be something to look at as you further refine your guidelines. And then the last slide, the city of Tampa, what I really liked here were their examples of measurement, which really, again, are great for evaluation and giving you all the tools for saying, yes, this is what we want, or no, this isn't what we want. And that was, like I said, I know that you all received this in your packet, so I was not going to read it, but that's a quick overview to catch everybody up.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
So my understanding is there's no motion, so we don't need to have a motion to discuss. Is that right?
Yeah, you can just discuss.
We can just talk about it and what's going on. Okay, well, I think, we're familiar with the presentation. I think some of us have had a similar presentation before. I think you came before and gave us a similar presentation. And I think the issues that we had before, not necessarily scale, but maybe, and I think it was corrected now, but the location of these pieces and being in the lobby, I think that was mainly the issue. And it seems like that's being taken care of by the language that has been changed or is underlined in front of us. I don't know what thoughts of the board are on this, and what needs to be discussed further.
I personally think we've discussed this to death, and I'd just like to, make sure that we go ahead and into the city, we incorporate the language as staff has recommended. And then and at other times, we can always discuss it further as we see a problem arising. But it's pretty broad, and I think we all agree we should have it as broad as possible with the definition, as long as people can see it. I think that was the consensus last time. So I'm happy to just see it move forward with that little change in the code right now.
I agree with that. Pete, you have any?
I feel the same way. I think that the visibility being public was one of my problems with it. And I like Nancy's presentation. It shows you that things can go everywhere. I mean, I personally am open-minded to mosaic walls on buildings. I think they make them extremely attractive as opposed to just buildings. I highly remember your waterfall concepts that you were talking about. I'd be thrilled to have some major office building take the first floor and just do a step, like they used to have in front of 2J's before they put plants in it. It used to be a waterfall down from level to level. You can hear it, you can see it, you can sense it, and it makes you feel good as you go by. And that's really what public good is for, or art is for. But thank you, Nancy.
All right, I think, I think it's good as is with the new language in there. I think, the only discussion we'll have at particular times is this a public right of way? Is it in a public right of way or whatnot? Besides that, I think we're good to go with it. All right, I believe that's it regarding this matter. Is there any other matters before the board?
I did want to mention for those of us that are here old enough that Stu Hershey died last week. I think that Mike and Dave probably know. And
Judge Hershey passed?
Yeah.
Oh,
Judge Hershey
man.
died, yeah. His heart got too small for his body. And so he hung in a long time.
Yeah. I was a public defender when I was a PD. I was assigned to Judge Hershey and Judge Harper at different times.
Yeah.
Great judge, I learned a lot in front of him. It's a sad issue.
Judge Hershey and his wife Sue Hershey were former mayors of the city.
Yeah.
They're doing services or anything?
No,
They had one. It was with the COVID thing. I think they had. I actually had to go out of town for Thanksgiving. They probably had a Saturday, I think. And they had like 50 people and then a little luncheon, because they knew that with the COVID thing, if they had actually put it in the paper, Yeah, my understanding is that Gil Smart recognizes how important he was. And so he's going to write a longer article this week, I think.
I think he has, hasn't he?
I haven't seen it. I hope I didn't miss it.
If you go online, I think you may.
Maybe,
find it.
yeah.
Maybe it hasn't been printed yet.
Could be, because I know he was very
Well,
disappointed that they
thought it
got the
was,
standard little,
yeah.
Stu Hershey went away, as opposed to, anyway, I have to stop before I cry.
All right, moving on, is there Historic Preservation Board matters or any staff updates? Seeing none,
Move to adjourn?
move to adjourn, seconded. All those in favor? Aye, adjourn. Great job, people.
How's that, Katie?